So have you ever had to make a decision or make a call, and as a result of making that decision and call, you had to throw one of your best people under the bus? Well, in the story I'm going to share with you today, we're going to talk about someone who literally didn't throw someone under the bus. They actually had to throw someone into a lion's den, all because of he was brought some incorrect information, and they played on his ego in order to put something into law. So what are we talking about? Of course, the title of this video is How to Thrive in a Toxic Workplace Environment. This is part 3. But I've been talking about the story of Daniel in the lion's den, and I've been talking about how he got there. And more importantly, I was talking about how Daniel was able to bring to life what he believes, but more importantly, the king also had to come to the light in terms of what he believed in, because he had to be challenged. So what happened in this story? Well, let me summarize it real quick. And we're reading from Daniel, the 6th chapter. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm just going to remind you. I'm going to summarize, but I'm going to pick up at the 11th verse. So the story goes, King Darius, he's in place, and he has 120 provinces, and he appoints Daniel and 2 other administrators over all of that. Daniel did such a fantastic job. He rose to the top, and the king wanted to put Daniel over all of it. Well, the administrators and some of the other high officials, they got together and they said, listen, we don't want Daniel to be over us and over all of this. We need to find some fault in everything that he's doing. Well, they tried to criticize him. They tried to condemn him. They couldn't find any fault in anything that Daniel did. So they put the plot together. They said, you know what? We're going to find something against his religion, because they knew Daniel was faithful to God. And so what they did is they got together and they went to the king and they said, King, listen, long live the king. We think you should, we all agree that you should put a law in place that says for the next 30 days, everyone praying, they should only pray to you. They shouldn't pray to anyone else. Well, this played on the king's ego. So the king agreed with that, and so the king signed it into law. Well, guess what? As soon as they persuaded the king to sign this into law, immediately they went to Daniel's house to watch him to pray. They wanted to catch him. Well, guess what? Daniel was consistent. Daniel didn't care about the law being signed into law. He's going to do that because he knows that's who he is, and he wanted to stay connected to God. So they go and catch Daniel breaking the law. They go back to the king and reminds the king, didn't you sign in the law? We thought you did. And the king's like, yeah, matter of fact, the law can't be revoked. And now they remind the king, well, since you did that, we just caught someone breaking the law. And that's where we're going to pick up here. So it says they reminded him. So in the 13th verse, well, in the 11th verse, they said, yes, the king, he said, that decision stands. It's an official law of the Medes and the Persians that cannot be revoked. So the king is, yeah, that's right. I did sign it in the law. This is where it gets interesting. In the 13th verse, it says, then they told the king, that man Daniel, one of the captives from Judah, is ignoring you and your law. He still prays to his God 3 times a day. Now, hearing this, now this is where things get tricky, because the king is like, hold on, I have a law. No one should be breaking it. But then when the king hears who's breaking the law, this is where his water begins to get troubled. Hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. You see, this is where people bring you agendas, and they're getting you to make decisions, and they have an agenda behind it. And sometimes we don't think about it, right? And so now the king is truly having to think about the decision that he's made, because now he's trying to figure out, how can I save Daniel? This is one of my best guys. Matter of fact, I wanted him to be over everything. I can't destroy him, because if I destroy him, I'm destroying myself. You see, as leaders, we have to truly be careful when people are trying to get us to make decisions, especially quick decisions, because sometimes we may be making that decision against our own interests. And now that's what the king is reflecting on. He said, hearing this, the king was deeply troubled, and he tried to think of a way to save Daniel. He spent the rest of the day looking for a way to get Daniel out of this predicament. He was worried. He was frustrated. He was stressful. Guess what? Daniel's toxic environment now has become the king's toxic environment, because the king isn't thinking about anything else. His focus on trying to save Daniel. It says, in the evening, the men went together to the king and said, Your Majesty, you know that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no law that the king signs can be changed. So now they're trying to put pressure on the king. They're like, this is your law. We need to remind you, you can't change this. You can't change this. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and thrown into the den of lions. The king said to him, this is what I love. This is what I love. Because now you can see the shift is changing with the king. The king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. You see, the king is like, Daniel, hey, brother, I've done all that I can do for you. I pray that your God that you trust in so faithfully, I pray that saves you. And you know what? That's where you and I, we have to get at some point. I don't care how tough things get. We have to get to a place to where we have to put faith and trust into God. And don't you know the king was hoping and praying that everything was going to work out for Daniel? The king didn't believe, but the king believed in Daniel to believe in his God. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. So if you and I, we want to thrive in our toxic environments, when right now they may not be toxic, but when people encourage you to make decisions and you make these decisions and these decisions come full circle and now they're going to really destroy your interests, wow, what are you going to do then? See, that's what I love about this story, because Daniel is steadfast in who he is. But as you can see, now the king is having to truly rethink who he is, and matter of fact, who he's got surrounding him. The king truly hadn't thought about it yet, but as this story goes on, the king is truly going to understand, how did all of this come to pass in the first place? And so that's why you and I, we can't get so caught up in these toxic environments. We can't get caught up in what people are doing and what people are saying and what people are thinking. And listen, don't waste your time on that. Focus on who you are. Let's be like Daniel in this story. As you can see, Daniel never wavered in the story. That's what you and I, we have to do. We can't waver. Right? We can't get wishy-washy. We can't start acting like the environment is acting around us. Let's set the stage for who we're going to be and who we're going to trust in, because at the end of the day, that's what Daniel is doing. And that's what you and I, we need to learn how to do. Let's trust in who God is, and let's continue to, no matter what law is signed, let's continue to stay connected to that true relationship. And at the end of the day, that's how you and I, we're going to thrive in our toxic environment. Listen, I'm going to finish this story on the next video, but I'm excited. I want to give you a little snippet here, just bits and pieces. So I want you to be encouraged, no matter where you are, no matter what kind of environment you're working in. You can call me up and tell me all of these bad things are happening. This is happening. That's happening. They're trying to condemn me here. They're trying to criticize me here. You can tell me all of those things, but at the end of the day, what I'm going to say is, how are you responding to it? Because that's the only thing you can control. That's what Daniel is encouraging me on. Again, I'm working with these leaders who are mid-managers to senior level leaders. They've been promoted within the last 3 years. Some of them making some major career transitions. And they're at these crossroads. Guess what? That's what I'm helping leaders to do, to find out who they want to be and how they're going to respond to this next phase of their lives. I pray that this video is helping you. If it is, like it, comment it, share it, subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one, because we're going to keep generating this content out to keep you on your path, to help you to become who you know you're supposed to be. I can't wait to see you on the next video. See you soon.